Hi, everyone. I am so pleased to welcome Siff today. She is just the most inspiring business owner together with her husband, Nish. They have built the most unbelievable supplements brand. And just overall, I feel like it's too small to say supplements. I feel like it's just like a wellness universe now. And it's just taking over the world. And Arrae is the most unbelievable business. I think it's so inspiring what you guys have done. And what I love about both of you is you're so open and honest with your journey. And it has been such a crazy journey for you guys. And I couldn't think of anyone better to do this masterclass. So thank you so much for being here. Even more so because you're in LA right now and there is so much going on. And I'm just so grateful that you made time for this. Yeah, I can't believe that you're here talking to us and giving your advice. So we're sending you all of our love as well. And I will come off of the video and then I will leave it with you. And then at the bottom, you'll see there's a Q&A box, not the chat box, but the Q&A.
Oh, I see it. Yeah.
Yeah. So at
Perfect.
the end, if you just click onto that, you might have a few questions. I'm sure you'll have lots. Thank you so much, Sif. Thank you,
Of
guys.
course. Um, I'm so excited to be here. It's so interesting, this format, because I can't see people's faces, which is what I'm used to, but I'm really excited to be here. I was chatting with Bryony before we started this recording. As she said, I'm in LA. There's fires. It's like a very crazy time, but I feel like at this time, like being in service to people is kind of like how I can feel like a little bit more in control of the situation. So for now, I'm here with you guys, and I'm really excited to do this masterclass. So as Bryony said, I am the co-founder of a brand called Arrae, and I'm really excited to kind of take you through this entrepreneurship masterclass. So I think what'll be best is like the Q&A box is very much open because I'm someone who likes interaction, but the way that I thought that I would structure this is kind of like take you guys from how to start all the way through to marketing 101 in terms of just things that I've learned and things that I think can be helpful for anyone who is wanting to start a business and also start a business that like fulfills you guys. So I'm just going to dive in with, I guess, how to start. So I think something that people always ask me is, oh, like, well, how do you even know if you have the right idea? Okay. And to that, I say a couple of things. Number one, I think that every great business stems from the desire to solve a problem. And I think oftentimes, like I've spoken to so many other founders, and I think that the kind of desire to solve a problem comes from you dealing with a problem and just not finding a solution. And I know that this is kind of the case for Bryony as well. I've spoken to her, and she started Pilates by Bryony for the very same reason. And I think that that's kind of also what keeps you going when things are tough, because the thing is with the business that you have incredible days, and obviously like doing something that you love is amazing, but if you are solving a problem that you really want solved, it just kind of gives you the motivation to consistently keep going and through the tough days as well. So when it comes to finding like a business that feels like soul aligned or that gives you purpose, I think that that's really where it stems from, is like the desire to solve a problem. And I think if you are someone who's like, oh, I want to start a business, but I don't know what it is, what I really like to do is I have a running list of problems on my phone that I want to solve. So I just have it going in my notes app. And it's like things that are frustrating me in the world and the things that I think I can solve. So of course, right now I'm working on Arrae, but still like anytime something frustrates me, I'm like, oh, like, why don't I write this down? And maybe if I don't solve it, I can give it to someone else, right? So I feel like just have that running list, and that way you'll find an idea that you really love. So sometimes I think a limiting belief that people have when it comes to starting a business is you'll tell yourself that, oh, I have this idea, but oh, I bet it's been done before. And to that, I will say that if you can't find that thing, like this idea that you have, if you cannot find another business that solved this problem, that means that it's not been done well enough, which means that there's actually space for you to solve it. So as an example, when we had the idea for Arrae, like back in 2018, that's when we started to work on it. And of course, you know, when I thought of this idea, my first thought was, well, does this exist already? Like, I bet someone's worked on it. But then I went and I looked, and there was no one who would really like solve the problem that we were trying to solve. Like, there was no brand that was doing targeted supplements that people could feel the impact of, that was, you know, really easy to understand, efficacious, and really beautiful. And so, point being that it, like, don't dismiss your idea as something, oh, like it must have been done. If you can't find that business, then it's probably not been done, or if it's not been done well enough. So I think after you have your idea, the next thing is to figure out the bare minimum money that you need in order to get started. Actually, by the way, if anyone has questions so far, just feel free to put it in the chat box. So the next thing is, as I said, to figure out the bare minimum money that you need to get started. So I think when it comes to starting a business, people kind of cut themselves short by feeling like they need a lot of money to get started. And that may be true, like depending on the kind of business you're pursuing. Maybe if it's like a huge idea in tech, like maybe you do need a lot of money. But don't feel like, oh, I have a business idea, but forget it because I just don't have the money, and it'll probably be like $1 million or whatever that number you've made up is, and I need to raise money and I don't know where to start. Okay, don't do that, because I think it's actually much more helpful to actually get into the nitty gritty and really understand what it is you need, because it may be a lot less than what you think you need it to begin with. So what I recommend for founders is to try to start your business without raising outside capital. And what I mean by outside capital is venture capitalists, or just essentially external sources of money. You can do this down the line, of course, but I think at the beginning, if you are able to prove out your business idea and kind of get it started on your own, the upside to this is, number one, you will learn to do it in the scrappiest way possible. Number two, you have full control over your business. Number three, down the line, when it does come time for you to maybe want to raise money in order to scale your business, then when you go into those rooms, you have a lot more power. So as an example, for us, we used our wedding money to start our business. So my husband is my co-founder, and we were supposed to have a wedding. And instead of having a wedding, we decided to put that money towards Arrae, like starting Arrae instead. And we say to this day, it is the best decision we ever made, because you know, we had so much power over our business, and we didn't raise money until a year and a half. We were fully profitable. We had done over $1 million before we decided to raise money. And I say this because it allowed us to go into rooms with so much power. So that being said, if you don't have the minimum money required in order to start your business, I would really honestly recommend doing something like a GoFundMe, or like basically like friends and family rounds, because I think, again, like it just allows you to have more control over your business. So as an example, my friend owns a business called Tower 28, which is a large skincare brand now. And she had gone through the friends and family route, which meant that she owns a lot of her business right now because she kind of used startup money from people that she knew. Same with another brand that I know called Bala Bangles. They went down like the Shark Tank route, but initially before that, it was, I think it was like a GoFundMe basically. I am reading a question that I got. I started my brand with a bonus from the corporate job I hated, and also put me through so much stress that I needed to create my product. I work part-time in an office. Still, when do you know? when do you know to jump in full time? Okay, this is a really good question because this was the thing that I was going to get into next. So, what I would recommend to anyone who's thinking of when to go full time into something. So, when we started Arrae, I was a creator, so that was my full time job, and Nish worked in fintech in a very demanding job. And what we had both decided was that we had a certain revenue milestone that we wanted to hit when both of us would go full time. So that revenue milestone was $1 million. Okay. So we decided that when we hit $1 million, we will both go full time. I went full time a little bit before Nish. So we launched the business in March of 2020. And I basically stopped taking on anything to do with, being like influencer or like creator contracts or anything like that around July, August. And Nish then took that leap in November, which is when we hit our revenue milestone. So I would recommend deciding on a revenue milestone, which kind of gives you the cushion. And like at one point, that your business isn't default dead. Okay. And you kind of know what that revenue milestone is for you. It's different depending on the kind of business that you have. So decide on what that is for you. Obviously, make sure that you have like some savings set aside because basically when you're going full time onto something, you may not be able to take like, the kind of salary that you'd be getting from your regular job. But I do think that having your job and kind of working on your business part-time until it feels like a little bit secure is the right thing to do. So figure out what that revenue milestone is what I would say. And honestly speaking, you guys, I can't sit here and pretend like it is easy when you have both a full-time job and you are running a business kind of on the side and building it. I remember it was literally working from 4 or 5 in the morning until like our workday started and then like right afterwards. So, and this isn't to glamorize hustle culture. It's just unfortunately like that's just kind of what it takes to get your business started. But, as I said before, if you love what you're doing, that will light you up and you'll start to see the forward momentum, which is an incredibly exciting time to be in. How do you decide what and how much to take as pay for yourself? Okay, so honestly speaking, you guys, we didn't take pay for a really long time. Now, every founder is completely different, okay? And you kind of have to decide where you're at. Like I have friends who started to take pay within their first year. For us, we had savings set aside. So we were kind of like okay to not really take a salary until I would say, I don't think we took a salary until like two years in. I mean, of course, like if we needed money, like it was our business, so we would take like little bits and bobs to like pay for like our day to day, but we didn't start to take a salary until like I would say 2 years in. So this will completely depend on you to begin with. And of course, like this will change. Like when we initially took a salary, it was like a very small amount. Okay. It was like, I don't know, like $30,000. And that amount obviously increased with the size of the business. And that's kind of always what we have done. Every founder is different. There's no one right answer. It just depends on your appetite for risk. It depends on where you're at in terms of your finances. So it depends on a lot of those different things. So I hope that that answers your questions, or question rather. Okay, so I got another question. How would you say being an influencer pre-launch supported the success of your brand? So I actually want to get into the pre-launch aspect of things right now because that was the next point. So this question kind of I'll answer it within my topic thing. So before launch, I think one of the most helpful things was I kind of built Arrae in front of people. So I leveraged my audience to kind of take them through the process of building Arrae and use them as a focus group. So I essentially had a focus group of like 50,000 people who I could tap into in order to get product feedback before launching it into market. So that's kind of what I did. So before launch, we tested products, like iterations of the product, and like kind of took people through like, what price would you be willing to pay? And are these issues even relevant for you? And so it was kind of like the first great testing ground for people. So that, in that sense, it was very helpful. But what I will say is that you don't need an audience in order to get started. I think that you can start to kind of show the behind the scenes of building a brand, even if you have like 3,000 of your friends who are following you on Instagram, or like 500 people, or just start a new brand account and just start to show that behind the scenes, even if no one is watching, right? Because that will build and people will be interested. The other way that I think having somewhat of a platform helped was, um, I think just in I understood how to pitch people. So when we launched our brand, of course, like we hadn't raised any outside capital. It was mine and Nish's wedding money. So we didn't have all this money to pay influencers and creators. What we could do is just gift to people. And so I was just sending out these very honest emails being like, hi, to like creators, nutritionists, doctors, literally anyone who I thought would like take interest in our product like ours. And I would send them an email being like, hi, like I just started a brand. I have like no money, literally, like we're a brand new brand, but I think that this product will change your life. Just accept it, no strings attached. Like you don't need to post about it, no nothing, just try it. And that's kind of how we started to build traction. And I think sitting on the other side as an influencer, I kind of understood how to speak to people. I think what a lot of brands do that's a mistake is they'll reach out to influencers, they don't have a budget. And then there's almost this like, we'll send you product and please post. Like it's that, I think what upsets influencers is this kind of like entitlement. And I don't want to use that word because I know what it's like when you're a new brand and you don't have a lot of money. But at the same time, I think that there's a way to pitch people. So I would say that when you're starting a brand, like pre-launch, like take people through it. And then when you launch the brand, start to gift to as many people as you can. And the other thing is, and this I guess goes into like post-launch, like the marketing or like how you're presenting the brand, is to make sure that you are treating your customers like influencers. Okay, you guys, I feel like so many brands miss the mark when it comes to this. Bryony is one brand that like does this just exceptionally well. I mean, we can see like the community that she's built is absolutely incredible. And that really does come from a brand that treats their customers with the same kind of like reverence and respect and honor that we treat influencers. So when we first launched Arrae, our packages for customers were the same as an influencer. So we would put in there a Polaroid from Nish and I with like a little handwritten note and make sure that everything was packed up really beautifully. And we wanted to do that little detail because I remember getting influencer packages and they would be like so beautiful. And that's the same experience that we wanted to give to our customers as well. So make sure that you are treating your customers like influencers, even if you have 5 of them, because when you make that package really beautiful and there's thought that goes behind it, I think people want to post it. And if you think about your own consumer behavior, yes, you'll of course buy something when your favorite influencer posts about it. But if your sister or your best friend or your mom tells you about this great new product, you know that you're going to go buy it right away. And so I feel like treating the average person like an influencer, and right now there's been a democratization of who even is an influencer. So I would say like that's incredibly important. So I hope that that answers your question. I know it was like a long-winded answer, but I did want to kind of give you all the different aspects of what that means, basically. The other thing, when it comes to launch basics, that's kind of the next thing that I wanted to talk to you guys about, which is that I think people kind of, when they're launching a brand, they think that it has to be like absolutely perfect in its like final iteration in order for you to go to market. And something that I have learned from tech is that the concept of launching fast and iterating. So, of course, we were an ingestible brand. So the formula of our products was like perfect, right? So like our bloat formula, which is like, you know, what we're known for. We launched with Bloat and Calm. Those were the first 2 products that we launched with. And both of those formulas are the same today as they were when we launched. But what I mean by launch fast and iterate is that your branding doesn't need to be perfect. Your packaging doesn't need to be perfect. Your website can be a piece of shit. Okay. Like, honestly, none of that matters because you will get feedback and you will have time to improve based on that feedback. It is much smarter to do that than keep putting off your launch in order to land on the perfect product. Okay. In fact, I will say that if you are not cringing at the first version of your thing, whatever it is, then you waited too long. Okay. So I'll tell you guys a story. When we were about to launch Arrae, we had worked so hard on like the exact colors that we wanted and like, all of the branding and blah, 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 right? Like it was like the best version that we could take it to. And our packaging came back from the printer. The color was completely wrong, like completely wrong. And Nish and I were like, what the heck do we do now? Like, do we just like start from scratch? Like, do we wait until another lot is printed and kind of let go of this batch and all of that? And that at that time, I was in London actually, and I had an interview with another beauty founder, and I was speaking to her and I was like, what do I do about this? And she's like, are you kidding me? Like putting off launch because of something so menial? Like, do you know how many issues you'll have with packaging throughout the life cycle of your business? Go to market. Best advice ever. We went to market with that, like what I thought was like subpar packaging, like slash branding. And it didn't matter. It didn't matter. People just loved the product. We used to begin with the worst Shopify theme that you can possibly imagine. Like the V1 of our website, it honestly embarrassing. Okay. Who cares? We went to market, we got feedback, we launched. That is what matters. So stop putting so much pressure on yourself to have the perfect end result before you launch. Just launch. You'll get so much valuable feedback from your customers. You will understand what they even like and dislike, right? We got incredible feedback. We have iterated on everything from our branding, our like the packaging itself, our website, our pricing, everything is up for change. Even today, we're like this. So I feel like just go to market and you can iterate and improve that. Like just because you take something to market doesn't mean it has to be in its final form. And I really want you guys to take this a bit seriously because I think it holds so many people back. So I will just say that as like a tale from someone who's been there, that like it doesn't have to be perfect. Okay. So next question, someone asked, how do you find it working with your husband? I'm currently working with my dad, finding it extremely difficult. Okay. So this is what I will say. I'm just gonna take a sip of water. I was going to talk to you guys about having a co-founder, and I think it is very important that you pick carefully. I think if the sign of the right co-founder is having very complementary skill sets and having innate trust in one another. Since Nish and I started working together, it has strengthened our relationship. We work incredibly well together. The reason is because we specialize in two different things completely, and I could never do his job and he could never do my job. So together we've come together and we cover such a broad range of skills with each of us having like serious strengths. So it's never a case of I think I know better than him or he thinks he knows better than me. There's no power struggle. We have full trust in one another. That doesn't mean that we don't have debates. Of course we do, and you should. And we encourage this with every single one of our team members as well, that like if you disagree with something that we are doing, you are allowed to voice that. And Nish and I debate in front of our team in order to kind of like open up that conversation and encourage that. But when it comes to who is the final decision maker, we have boundaries. So when it comes to brand, image, creative, anything like that, that falls under my purview. When it comes to anything like operations, anything like technical, anything that comes to like spending a large amount of budget, that's Nish. When it comes to product, like the products that we're releasing, essentially, that's a joint decision. We're always able to agree because we look at data and we look at science. So it's like a very objective decision-making process, right? So I think that when you're deciding on who to work with, it's really important to have these like kind of complementary skill sets. And I think if you're working with your dad and having a difficult time, I think it's time to kind of go have a conversation and decide on who gets the last say on what. I think that that's kind of when these like issues come up, is when there's no set guidelines on who is deciding on what. And I understand that it can be difficult with the parent, because parents kind of have this like authoritative dynamic sometimes. And I think that when it comes to a business, you can't have that. Like, it can't be that like your dad or your mom has the final say just because they're your dad or your mom. Like, it has to be that like you kind of decide on certain parts of the business where you get to make the final decision. Doesn't matter if your dad or your mom disagrees with you, and vice versa. You kind of have to treat it like a business partnership, if that makes sense. So I hope that that is helpful. I think a mistake that people make is they'll go into business with their best friend and they're both good at the same thing. Like, I've spoken to founders like this and I'm like, why did you do that? Because no matter how close you guys are, if you specialize in the exact same thing, there may be a point where you come to a disagreement, and how do you solve it? You're both good at the same thing and you both think that your opinion is correct. So please, 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 please make sure you evaluate very carefully who your co-founder is. It honestly has the ability to make or break your business. So do not take that lightly. It is really important that you have the right business partner. So that is that. And then I guess the next point that I have is when it comes to hiring, I think the first important thing is hire generalists before you hire specialists. So for us, our first hire is still with us today. And she started as an intern. Okay. So she was pre-med at Brown, hired her, and she has worked every function in the business before now she's in product development, because she comes from like a medical background, basically. Now, hiring a generalist and seeing that they're able to grow with the company, they will have the same visibility as you as a founder, which is so powerful, because then that person is kind of able to see through the growth and evolution of the company. The other sad reality is that you kind of have to be self-aware of whether someone is able to keep up with your business or not. So, this is like our first hire is still with us. And actually, most of our early hires like are still with us. Like, we barely have turnover in the company. That being said, that may not always be the case. Like, we do have also stories of people who maybe started a little bit early with us, but they just weren't able to keep up with the growth of the company. And that's okay. You are able to kind of let them go. It's the most compassionate thing to do. So I would hire generalists, and then as the company starts to grow, that's when you bring in specialists, and you will understand like where you need the most support. So for us, our first specialist that we hired was for supply chain, because we really needed support and we really needed someone who just dealt with that side of the business while we dealt with other things, basically. So that's what I would say when it comes to hiring generalists. Also, hiring in general. Also, the other thing that I will say is that essentially, like, oh my gosh, what was I gonna say? I lost my chain of thought completely. But so okay, let me just go back. So hiring generalists, then specialists. Oh, this is what I will say. When it comes to evaluating when you need to hire, like, really be critical of where you're spending your time. So when you're starting, you're kind of doing every job and every function, which is good. But then you have to evaluate whether what you're working on is the thing that can move the needle the most, right? So, for example, when we first started Arrae, I was, Nish and I were both doing the packaging as an example, which was fine to begin with. But it came to a point where like we were literally spending all of our time like packaging up the orders. That no longer was sustainable, nor was it moving our business forward. So that's when we were like, we need to hire someone who will just be a packager. That way Nish and I can move away from there. So like those are the kind of critical decisions to make. The other thing that I will say that I think that people kind of don't put enough emphasis on is customer service. Okay. So at the beginning, I think customer service is so interesting because people are like, oh, I'll just outsource it. That's fine later on. We still have our customer service team in-house, by the way. Like, everyone who is on our customer service team works for Arrae, like they're contracted employees. But for the first year, customer service was Nish and I. The reason is that is your first kind of line of communication with your customers. You can learn so much. You can see what's frustrating them. You can see what they like, what they dislike. it is so valuable. That's kind of how you can make decisions on future products, what's working, what's not working, get direct feedback. Do not discount how important customer service is. Like that is like a gift for you. So use it. For the first year and a half, every phone call that we got from customers would go to Nish's cell phone. So Nish and I would literally be personally speaking to customers. So try to use your customers to your advantage. If someone's upset, don't let it upset you. My philosophy has always been, even when someone's upset, is to kill them with kindness. And honestly, people always turn around when they see that like you're responding with kindness, that you're ready to help, and that you're the founder. So I think that at the beginning, I cannot explain to you how important it is that you do your own customer service. Okay. Like please retain that because it is so, so valuable. Okay. Next question is, given the size and scale of Arrae, how do you value / how do you how much time do you spend on your business versus in your business? Your insight is brilliant. Thank you so much. Okay. So on my business versus in my business. Okay. So right now we are almost 5 years in, which is insane to say. And right now we have 27 people on our team. So of course, like this changes year over year. Like I can honestly say that like even a year and a half ago, I was doing every job on my own. I think you kind of like you evolve with the business and you will understand like what that is for you. So like now, for example, a lot of my time is spent kind of in meetings, kind of delegating tasks, but I do still have time and days blocked off for me to kind of do the creative work and ideation myself. And that is because I sit in like a heavily creative / brand role, and a lot of the direction of the brand and the ideas that we have still comes from me. And so it's really important still for me to have that time to think. What's really important for me, and this is like, of course, specific to me and the type of person that I am, having time away from the business a couple of times a year is really important. So around Christmas, for example, Nish and I always go away. We take that time to like ideate, think on bigger picture things. Also, the distance and the time difference also helps kind of like distance and like have those thoughts. And then we do the same thing over the summer as well. So you kind of have to figure out what systems work best for you. In terms of Nish, he's in a much more technical role. He's also in right now a lot of meetings, and it's more so like finding the right people to kind of support us versus like going and of course, there's still going to be problems that only founders can solve, and you will know what those are. Like the toughest problems in the business, it's still us solving it. But now we've, of course, hired a lot of people who can support us in terms of solving smaller problems or like more technical problems that we don't necessarily need to be spending all of our time on. So I think as the business grows, you are tested in terms of like your ability to hire the right support and find the right people to kind of solve problems. That being said, I think another very important thing is actually twofold. Number one, not hiring too much, because you want to make sure that people are still working hard and that your organization is very efficient. Number two is not is hiring too slowly. So that's actually a problem that we're in right now. Our company is growing so quickly that we are trying to hire fast, but it's hard to find the right people to like hire as quickly as we need to. So I feel like kind of towing the balance between those two things is really important. So be self-aware of that. Okay, you guys, those are all of the overarching things that I had. Do you guys have any questions? I think we have about 5 minutes. So if you do have any questions, feel free to put it in the question box and I will answer them to the best of my abilities. Okay, I don't think we have any more questions.
I have one question.
Hit me.
That was incredible, by the way. It was so, so good. What makes, what is it, do you think about the way that you run your business with Nish that makes your team so strong and the bond that you guys have?
So I think two things. Number one is trust. So I think Nish and I have an innate trust in one another, and I think that that bleeds over into the culture that we've built. When we hire people, it is with innate trust that we hire them, which means that we trust them to make decisions on their own. And we also know that if someone, God forbid, makes a mistake, it's okay. No one's going to make petty comments. No one's going to make them feel bad because we know that it is with best of intentions that people kind of make the decisions that they make. And in fact, giving people the autonomy to make decisions invites in mistakes sometimes, and that is absolutely okay. So that trust is there. And I think everyone is so kind of like mission driven that everyone does what is best for Arrae and for our customers. Like that is it. Like everyone has that singular focus and everyone is an incredibly hard worker. Like it takes us a long time to hire people. We don't just hire people. And if someone is the wrong fit, we are quick to let them go because our organization, I feel like it's like our baby. And so our team is like the caretakers of our baby. And so I think everyone feels that way. So I feel like that honesty and trust, I feel like are the two biggest pillars. So yeah, I think like that's kind of the thing. And then also because I think Nish and I are married and we work really well together and we're so close, I think that that has bled over into how we work with our team as well. Like we're really good friends with our team, like we like take them out with us. Like we really treat them like they're our family as well. And so I think that it just kind of they want to stick around for that reason because they feel like a sense of loyalty to Nish and I as well. And so we're really
And it's so
lucky.
much more than just a job that they just show up for
Exactly.
and clock off. And what is next for Array?
Ooh, so we have a very exciting launch coming that you've known about for a long time. You actually tasted
So
the first
excited.
version of, or like one of the first versions of it. So we have a creatine gummy launching, and I know, Bryony, you're such a fan of creatine. And so I'm so excited to kind of bring this to women specifically because the impact that creatine has on our general health from muscle building to cognitive function is incredible. This is really like the first kind of creatine that is for women. It also has ginger for digestive benefits and a prebiotic in it that is specific for body composition. So it kind of helps you with muscle building while helping you with body composition and your metabolism as well. So first of its kind, we're so excited. The face of the product is Elsa Hosk and Jasmine Tukes, which is insane. And
Iconic.
so it's coming in a couple of weeks, and I'm really excited.
The campaign is incredible. It's so, so cool. And I really think creatine, when you told me you were doing creatine, I was just so excited. And then
I know.
and it tastes like, I'm so excited for you to bring it out because it tastes like strawberry laces. Everyone in the UK
Yes.
will know what I mean. And they're so delicious. And also gummies
Oh.
are so easy and you can take it in your
Uh-huh.
bag. I think part of the barrier for creatine is the fact that it's a powder and you have to do it in a drink
Exactly.
and quite often, and actually over December, I've been so bad with taking creatine, and I keep thinking I'm so excited for yours to come out. So yeah.
I'm bringing a bag full of it to your wedding for
Oh
you.
my God, please. We need to like hand it out to all that and bloat.
Yeah, exactly.
Um,
Those are the two.
Iconic.
Actually, Bryony, there's a bunch of questions that just
Yeah,
came in. Should I
go
try
for
to
it.
answer in like the
Yes,
next
that
couple
would
of
be
minutes?
amazing.
Okay, so Um, someone asked, I would love to order your products, but unfortunately it is not working from Munich. Are you planning an EU shop in the future? Yes, we are. Honestly, it takes so long to figure these things out. And I'm so sorry that, it's not available. There were like, it is, but there's just higher duties, but we're solving this. It's going to be available soon. If you are in Paris, we are available at the Dior Spa in Paris at the Plaza Athénée. So please go there. That's Bryony's and I's shared bond is that we both have this relationship with Dior. So please go there and get the products there. Okay, someone else asked, it seems like you love what you do. Do you have any desire to sell IPO or would you keep the company private for as long as possible? I've been to 2 major acquisitions to CVS and missed the smaller private company days. Um, Honestly, we always say that we will do what is best for the company. Right now, Nish and I have been loving building it. We don't really have the desire to sell or IPO it at this moment in time, but this could, of course, change. It completely depends on what the company needs. Um, do you have a favorite year/stage of the business so far, and why? Every stage. Every stage has been so fun, so unique. Like last year was incredible. Some years are more challenging than others, but then the fun is solving all the problems. So every part of it has been just so fun. Okay. Did you ever have self-doubt about your business, brand, purpose? I'm just about to start Pilates classes in a small town. I know my why, but continuously find myself second guessing and doubting myself. Honestly, no. Um, and the reason is that I always like to think that when I think of who in the world has started a business, I don't think that they were born with like some special gift. It was just they just did the damn thing. And if someone else is able to do it, then I am just as capable and just as hardworking. I may not be the smartest, but I will work my absolute hardest to be able to achieve whatever I want to achieve. So I don't think that you can really spend time doubting yourself. And if you do, then telling yourself that I think is really helpful, that like everyone has gone through challenges, everyone's figuring it out on the way, and you are just as capable as anyone else to figure it out on the way. Okay. I think that's all the time we have, right, Bryony?
Yes, and you've been so generous with your time. And also, guys, as you can see, Sif is such an open book. She has the most amazing podcast as well, which gives such good tips. I love it. I always listen. The Dream Bigger podcast. And you've also been on mine. So, yeah,
It was so fun.
it
And
was so
yeah,
much.
like
We need to do that again. Maybe we can
we
squeeze
really
it
do.
in pre-wedding.
Honestly, I am down, but are
Let's do
you?
it. We'll do it. We'll do it. Thank you so much. And thank you guys for listening. We have a 15-minute break now. Then we're going to do a sound bath to finish, and then we'll do a Q&A with me. If you have any kind of final thoughts from the day, then let me know. But thank you so much, Sif. And
Thank you,
I will
Bryony.
see you soon. See you at the wedding at the
Can't
latest.
wait.
And guys, I will see you in 15. Thank you so much,
Bye,
Sid.
guys.
Bye.